Hello, my name is Gianmarco, and this is the second part of the series of In the Mental, episode 2, or Act 2, as I would say. Um, this is sort of going to be just a continuation of last part, so, I explained the format of this and, like, why I'm doing this and shit like that, but, I'm going to get started with, how depression has affected how it started in my life. Um, so also sorry if I'm not as I'm like a little like or like in my voice I'm just not as energetic as last time. But to me, what happened was I remember the first time I sort of felt this horrible like sense, and I remember I was 10 years old, and it was this because of this teacher, this piano teacher. I was forced to do piano. I didn't want to. My mom, she was like, "Oh, it'll be good for extracurricular stuff like that. It'll be good for college." I was in fifth grade, by the way. This wasn't anything like I was not in high school or anything like that. I was in fifth grade. I was in elementary school. I was This shit was not gonna help, bro, and it didn't help. Um, but it was a lot. It was definitely more than uh, a lot. I just I remember having the I remember my mom. She went and I didn't want to do this. I never wanted to do this, and she would force me to do it. I remember there was one time she was hitting me, and I said I wanted to die. I remember I was in fifth grade. I was at the piano when I said that, and I tried to hurt myself with a butter knife before then, but it's a butter knife, and I didn't I didn't even realize, like, still, like, I was super fucking young, so I wasn't gonna go and be like, I didn't know exactly, you know what I mean, but it was still, a lot, bro. It was still a lot for me, especially at that young age. um it was it was just kind of I was it was a lot for me to handle and shit. But after that, I went and I got a therapist when I was in fifth grade. Maybe even like this is on the cusp of sixth grade. So I had a therapist, and she was pretty okay. But like with the therapist, with like those child therapist, it was a therapist that it was like sort of a child therapist. It's kind of it feels just hard. Maybe it's also just because how I was back then. It was very difficult to even go and talk about certain things. I was I would go and I would be like, "Yeah, I'm okay," but sometimes there's like deeper feelings, or sometimes there's just therapy appointments where it's like there's nothing happening because I'm just there's nothing bad or nothing to really talk about. Especially, I'm at that young age, so it's like, can you really talk about when you're like at that age, like school stuff like that, maybe like things with my parents. And that is one thing. If I wish I did talk to her more about my parents, because I they did I they have done a lot of shit. They have done a lot of shit over the years that have affected me. My mom did. She they would my parents, they would hit me and shit, and it would be that hurt. Obviously, the shit was bad. I didn't like it at fucking all, and I didn't see the reason, and I still don't see the reason. But that's the way they were raised, and I think right now, I think to myself, I'm like, why didn't they break the cycle? Or I wish they broke the cycle, but it's hard to break the cycle. I truly know it's hard to break the cycle, but it still is something I wish, like, that they could have at least done, but nah, just it didn't happen. Then the next main point was with depression was in COVID. So this was around summertime of 2020. And in summertime of 2020, there was it was bad for a lot of people. Um, Even with like being able to play games and shit, it was still pretty bad to deal with that. And I remember just being in that house with my family was just horrible because there'd be yelling, screaming, and shit. And that was the first time. And I went and I tried to drown out the sorrows with alcohol. That was the first time I had alcohol. I think I was 14 at the time, maybe 15, something like that. But that was the first time I went and I touched my dad's alcohol, and it was just out in the open. It's always been out in the open, so I can take it at any time, really. But I just don't. It was just a lot going going on with that, and I remember one day I just broke down. Like my mom, she was yelling at me again, and I remember one time, I just broke down. I just completely broke down crying. I was telling her what happened. I said I wanted to kill myself. And, I never, it was just a lot, bro. It was just a lot going on with that whole situation. And I hated that early COVID era. I remember this one moment clearly where I was playing Quake 1. I was playing Quake 1, and it was like, I was having my dinner. It was like 4 in the morning, and I was in my underwear eating like spaghetti or something, and then my dad was getting ready for work. Because he still had to work even during that period in COVID and shit like that. So it was a lot like that. It was a lot. And I remember that was after I had that conversation, I did get medicine. I did get medicine, and I was provided medicine and shit like that, which was, it wasn't actually too good. The medicines weren't too effective. Like, especially when I got off of them. When I got off the medicines, it was not effective at all. It didn't help, It wasn't effective. So, after a few years, I believe I was in senior year of high school now, I got out of the medicine. And I honestly felt better without the medicine. And I know that there's like a relapse for a lot of people, but and also there's been new developments in my family since last episode, finding out more about myself from therapy, finding out, maybe I have more conditions that have manifested themselves in my in recency. And to me, that is just fucking, it's pretty fucking bad. I hate that, especially things where my mom has issues and I'm finding out that, oh, because she has issues, it's genetic, you're most likely have these issues. And it's like, well, I don't want to end up like her. That's kind of obvious. I don't want to end up like her. So what am I gonna do with this information? Like, I'm just gonna be like, am I gonna be actually fucked up? And I really hope I'm not gonna be messed up like her. Like, hopefully I don't have kids where I start acting like my family. That was genuinely one of a big fear of mine. If I do have kids, I don't want to go and have kids in a way where it's like I have that relationship with them, because it's like, that was fucking terrible, bro. That was always going to be a terrible experience to deal with, and I don't want to go and affect my kids like that. So I'm trying to get through these mental struggle at least earlier on in my life, so I will be able to have a good relationship with the people around me. I've already lost some people from these manifesting mental illnesses that have been occurring recently, and that's another thing. That's another thing that I'm going to talk about later in this episode. But how after this stuff, I went and I didn't the most recent thing, like wave of depression. Well, I would have like maybe 1 or 2 days in the month where I would just feel kind of like and that went on for a long time. It went on since like 2023, and then it like continued. But then my mom, she was getting treatment for her health, and my dad was being more open because it's let me look it up what it was called. Like I guess my dad was just avoidant, really. Like, so it's not like he was there but he wasn't really there. And it's like, I don't want to blame him, he was working and shit, but but when he was there, it wasn't really that good. So that definitely affected me in a certain way. And it was like my mom and my dad being more like open, or like being more like good to me. It just affected me because like it wasn't like that when I was a kid. And that affected me, and I talked to my best friend about it, but it's she, not a lot of people might understand that. She didn't really understand, so I get it, it's understandable. And after that, I had a big depressive cycle. I would just be suicidal, and that led into me losing that best friend, and me going and trying to kill myself, and then me getting put into a mental hospital. And that was definitely the worst period that was definitely a low point, because I just was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe this is actually happening. Like, I'm in an actual mental hospital. Like, I wish I could do it. And there's parts of me that wish that it did happen to me. Like, because I'm not fully healed. Like, maybe I can make like a return series, like an Act 4 or something, that's like years from now, that goes into like how I fully healed and stuff like that. But it just takes a lot of time, and I know it takes time. I just don't want to have to be waiting and chasing my whole life. It feels so weird just trying to chase after this good feeling, and especially when there's people that have already left you, it just breaks you down in a certain way. Like, it doesn't, sometimes I just feel like giving up, like, it does genuinely affect me. And I'm sorry if this episode is more, like, I guess, hopeless. I don't want to give that feeling. I just want to give my experience. And I guess in my experience, being true to myself, it feels hopeless. And that's like the main thing about depression. You just feel hopeless a lot of the times. Hopelessness just turns around, and even after the mental hospital, I still was suicidal, and still am, because it's like the feelings are still there, and life is still going on, even though I didn't want it to go on. I didn't want it to go on anymore. And now my mind is truly changed after that experience. And I met people in the hospital, but it still doesn't take away from the people that I've already lost, or had their opinion of me changed over the years. But after that, so I went to the mental hospital, and overall, like I wish there was people my age for a long part of it. I did meet a group of friends, but I was so closed off from like the beginning, and they weren't really there. The people that were my age weren't there. It was mainly older people, which it's like, I don't know, when there's just older people, it's kind of hard to talk with them on a level to level. I did meet, some older people where it's like, oh, I can have an actual conversation. But most of the time, I was just in my room. I would have to go to these groups, and it kind of felt like just a hotel I couldn't get out of. And I hate hotels. I hate hotels. I hate vacations. That's also another thing that came from childhood, because it's like, I, to me, it's to me, my biggest fear, I would say right now, is just the loss of freedom. And that's how it was when I was younger. It was just the loss of freedom. And that, like, going on these places I hated, and I wouldn't have a say in them, and it's like, you're going to make good memories, and it's like, no, I didn't make good memories. I still think about them, and I still hate them. And it's like, my parents are like, oh, get over it. And it's like, I'm just appalled. I don't know. I'm a little fucking appalled when like they said that. They said that as well when I was talking about the loss of my best friend, and then they were like, "Get over it." And I'm like, it's like shit like this where it's like, why continue, bro? Like, if you're gonna have a situation like these situations, you shouldn't just go and disregard it like that, especially from someone who isn't mentally there or stable. You just don't do that. I don't understand. I still don't understand. Maybe you guys can like fill me in on this, like, but it truly just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think I'll be able to get it, or even if I don't think I'll truly be able to get why they said that, because the wound's still fresh. Maybe if it was, not even if it was years later, it would still hurt to me, at least. I don't know. It's, things just affect me differently. And that's the worst. That's one of the worst things, honestly. How things things affect me differently because of my autism, and that's been my whole life, just. And then social situations are a little bit harder for me, like with shit like why can't I think of the fucking name of it? Sarcasm. Fuck. I don't know why that took so long to think of. Yeah, like with like sarcasm and some other social situations like that, where it's like, man, it's just difficult. But how I try to go and not think about the feelings and the feelings of just going, and the sadness in it all. I try to go and I try to like talk to my friends if they're available. That's definitely one thing I still need to work on. It's like when no one's available, it like feels like I'm drowning. But I don't want to seem as clingy. I just want to feel a little okay. But I don't try to push people. Like, I don't try to, or yeah, I don't try to push people where it's like, oh, I'm going to go and be like, I'm going to go and be like, fuck, man, like, let's play, let's play. And it's like, oh, I don't want to play. It's like, oh, come on, bro, come on. Like, I don't like to be pushy like that, because I don't like pushy motherfuckers like that. That's just not for me. um but I'm just like, man, this situation is just shit, bro. It's been shit for a long time, and it's like, I can't do anything about it. That was the worst part. I just can't go and change some people's, thoughts or minds about me, and how the to me, I also realized that these labels and these mental conditions are gonna stay with me for a long ass time, and that's why I'm like, nah, bro. That shit's definitely that shit's definitely gonna fuck me up, because it's like people will see me differently, and it's like, because the doctors, I'm just gonna say it right now, the doctors are saying like, oh, you might have schizophrenia, and it's like, we can't diagnose you yet because you have to hear these voices for like 6 months and like have hallucinations for 6 months, and it's like, bro, I I don't even know what's gonna happen if that shit um if that shit happens. It's like, fuck, man, I don't know what the next move is, and then I know I have to report that to jobs and shit like that, and then those people will look me differently. So it's definitely something. I didn't even know that when I've been applying to jobs recently, and it's like, I'm finding out that like, oh, you can state like if you have like depression and shit like that. It's like, I didn't even realize that, bro. I'm like, I it's been like a while since I really like applied to like a huge amount of positions in a recent in like a short amount of time. Like when I worked at Royal Farms before, and that shit was just like instantly. I was at a job center, and that was a good ass job. I'm not gonna lie. That was like that was a job for me. That was definitely like a job that was definitely for me, and I wish I still had it, you know, especially after the experiences that have come after that. It's kind of like, I see me being at Royal Farms as like the beginning at the end. Royal Farms is a gas station, by the way. It's just a gas station, but I see it as like the beginning at the end with things. I also hope that the audio isn't that loud. I got messages saying that the audio was too loud for my game in the last video, and it's like, fuck, bro. I that fucking sucks, bro. Because it's like, I was trying to talk, you know, about some stuff, and it's like, oh, you can't even hear it because fucking there's zombies gameplay in the background, and it's like, bro, I can't even, like, are we serious, bro? But it's like, damn, man. I don't know, but how depression affects me, I just feel hopeless, you know. That's how I genuinely feel. I feel hopeless, and I hope no one goes through the fucking mental hospital, because goddamn, that shit was ass, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that shit was so ass. Just that procedure. I hate taking my, like, people taking my blood, bro. That is another thing that I hate. And that's exactly what happened. I was getting my blood taken, but like, I got my blood taken like twice during the whole visit. But I know that for some people, it's the procedures that they have to do to get into the mental hospital slash that are in the mental hospital are worse than what I'm going through. But yeah, I'm still trying to get my footing. Like, it's been 2 months since I've gotten out, and it still is like, it's still hard to really get my feet in the door. Like, I'm trying to get a job and shit like that, trying to forget about, you know, past relationships, past friendships, shit like that, trying to work on myself. And it's like, even though it's like that, it still is, even though it's like that, it's still, you know, difficult, and it's gonna be difficult. I think it could be difficult for anyone, honestly. But, you know, and that sort of leads into the next video, which I'm just gonna say right now. It's about my autism. I feel like it's gonna be longer because there's just more life to it. You know what I mean? There's definitely more life where I can, like, confidently talk about, oh, you know, again, more life where I can confidently talk about like how this has affected me, social situations, shit like that. And it's like, all right, you know, that's good. And I hope the fucking gameplay doesn't piss people off, just like last time, because goddamn, bro, I that is just something I always talk about, or I always think about when I like am recording gameplay. It's like I gotta lock the fuck in on this shit, bro. I cannot, because I wanna record Overwatch, but it's like, do I really though? Do I? Am I really about to go and show gameplay of me getting like steamrolled or something? Like, am I really about to do that? Like, no, no, I don't want to do that shit. It's fucking ass. Um, and it's been, so I try to do games that are like more in my element. I'm thinking like next episode I'm gonna put on some Terraria gameplay because that is my favorite gameplay, and it is the last part of the series, at least for some time. Maybe I'll make an Act 4 when I'm fully recovered from this shit, but you know how it is, man. Um, I physically though, the I physically depression. Actually, hold on. This is because hold on. Yeah, I'm just. I don't know why. I had to check. Like I had to check real quick. I was like, there is like a thing known as physical depression symptoms, and it's like yes there is, and it's like all right yeah, because I was thinking like okay this is probably what it is, you know, because I've been feeling this for way longer, but you know that's really it. But to me, um, also I didn't mention the exact type of depression I have is manic. I'm manic. I have manic depression, so it's like sort of like mood swings and shit like that. It's like bipolar depression, you know, shit like that. Or I forgot it's either one of the terms, I believe. I think they changed the terms. I'm not. I don't actually remember exactly. It's been years since I've been diagnosed, but it was something like along those lines. So yeah, um, but I am sort of just weak and tired. I'm just always fucking tired because it's like there's no hope in me. There's no fucking life. It's like what am I thinking about, you know? And that's another thing. I just keep well, this is probably due to the PTSD, but like just replaying those thoughts, man, it just makes me start crying and shit because it's like I'm replaying this. I got no rest. Like I'm always thinking, always in my mind just like thinking about shit and it's like, man, fuck, bro. Like I hope I get this next job, bro. I hope I get this next job. I'm trying to get a janitor job and shit because it's like at least my mind will be off of shit and stuff like that. But that's really it. And I hope you know you guys talk about your experiences down below in like the comment section, you know, shit like that. You know, make a conversation about it. But that's really it. So this is your Marco signing out.